Welcome to the news and why it matters. I am Sarah Gonzalez. We have an awesome lineup today. Might I just brag on you guys for a second? We've got Mr. Graham Allen back in the house.
I'm in the number 2 seat today.
You are. I mean, I would call it the number 1 seat, but well, Glenn, this is Glenn's seat.
This is Glenn?
Yes.
Stu is always sitting here when I'm here.
Because Glenn's always leaving us.
Oh, this is the 1A or the 1B seat.
Yeah,
You're 1A, 1B.
1A, 1B. So congratulations on your promotion.
It's a little rude to single out Graham.
Yeah, we're just kind of sitting here. You know, let's have a conversation.
So I consider myself the focus. Right?
That's normally my seat. I normally am in that seat.
We've got Jesse Kelly back. We've got a double dose of Jesse Kelly. So you're back with us today.
In the flesh.
Yes. And we've got Connie Burton. It is your maiden voyage on the show, founder and CEO of the Texan News, which I know is a new endeavor of yours. And I want to talk to you about that later on in the show because I think it's a great thing that you're doing.
Thank you.
All right. Before we get into everyone's top stories, I want to do that. But first, I want to thank realestateagentsitrust.com. So if you're looking to buy or sell a home, I know this is going to come as a shock to a lot of you, but blindfolding yourself and turning to the real estate agents in your phone book and then just randomly picking someone is not the best way to do it. I know. This is breaking news on the show.
That's how I did it.
Was it? But seriously, there are so many people these days who say that they're a real estate agent. You know, maybe they dabble in it, but they do something else on the side. Everyone, I know Jason Buttrell, his plumber has a real estate agent license number on his card too. So that's who you really want selling your house and fixing your toilets. No.
At least you know the plumbing's good.
It's true. It's true. They can check it all for you very thoroughly. So that's why Glenn founded realestateagentsitrust.com. It's basically a networking system for the top real estate agents. It's a matchmaker of sorts. So they have vetted all of the top real estate agents all across the country. They've vetted them for, their values. They've vetted them for their skill. These are the experts in your area. They're going to get you the most for your money, and they're going to put you and your family in a place that is going to be safe. You can go to realestateagentsitrust.com right now. They've got an agent where you're at, no matter where you are. They're all over the country. They can help you. realestateagentsitrust.com. Graham, what's your top story?
Mini AOC. My favorite AOC is no more because of death threats against the child. And so the parents have pulled the parody account, and I think it's time for the real AOC to say something about it.
Can't wait to talk about that. Jesse, top story.
Mitch McConnell might be going down in flames. NBC News, this is, I'm not making this up on my life. This is not from Slate or some of these jerkwater publications. The oldest major news network in the country, NBC News, ran a story last night that Mitch McConnell's great-great-grandfathers owned 14 slaves. And I'm not joking. Bringing the issue of reparations home, close to home, is what they said. On my life, that's what they said. I can't wait to bring it up.
All right, Connie.
Yes. So my family is about a family in Kaufman County, Texas, which is east of Dallas, the Pardo family. Their 4-year-old son, who has been diagnosed with medical needs, was forcibly removed from his home by CPS. So I want to talk a little bit about that.
Okay. All right. Obviously, a lot to get into. Graham, I know, when did this happen? It was over the holidays that Mini AOC's parents, they put out a statement saying we've been getting too many death threats. And
correct. Well, Ava, I believe her name is.
Yes.
Mini AOC has been getting too many death threats. So
that's what you want to do is send death threats to a tiny human.
And I'm going to try to get through this. I'm losing my voice. I've been screaming about this all morning since about 4 a.m. this morning. Do we have any asset clips of Mini AOC for people that don't know what we're talking about?
Yes, I believe that we do.
Do we have any clips?
Can we watch that, please?
I want to tell you about my plan to single-handedly save the planet. I call it the Green New Deal. I picked green because I'm still learning my colors. I came up with my plan after watching the most important documentary on climate change. It's called Ice Age 2, The Meltdown. That's not me saying it. That's science. My Green New Deal will cost $93 trillion. Do you know how much that is? Me neither, because it's totally worth it. If sea levels keep rising, we won't be able to drive to Hawaii anymore. And I just got this electric car. It's eco-friendly, and everyone has to drive one under my deal.
She's so cute.
It's uncanny. right?
It really is.
I didn't know which one I was watching. Anyway, so what's going on is what you said. So this child, Ava, she's 8 years old. Obviously, her parents are involved in some way in this. She's 8 years old, but there are 8-year-old YouTube stars, everything. So
Yes.
Ava obviously comes from a family of conservative nature, just from what you're gathering here. She sees AOC and her policies for what they are. A child would come up with these things. So she does what every SNL skit, what every comedian has been doing to politicians, presidents for years. She pokes fun at AOC. But the difference is, in 2019, you can't do that anymore. Comedy is dead. Comedy is not allowed. Comedy is hate speech, and you can't do that. So what more adult thing to do than for AOC supporters to not only threaten, but threaten with death an 8-year-old child? So much to the point that the child's parents now have to step in and say, hey, it's absolutely ridiculous. Our child is 8 years old. Her safety is on the line. We're just deleting all the accounts. So 3 or 4 days ago, I put a tweet out calling out AOC, saying, hey, you practice free speech, you practice anti-violence, or at least you say you do all the time. This is your opportunity to practice what you preach and to condemn these actions by your supporters. Crickets. Absolutely nothing. Goes viral on Twitter, goes everywhere. There's no way AOC doesn't know about this. It's been on Fox. I've been on Fox. We've talked about it here. It's all over the internet. There is no way that she does not know that this 8-year-old child has been receiving death threats from people that support her. My stance on this is, when it gets to this level, do we have an obligation as influencers or politicians or news anchors or whatever to address every single dumb thing that people that follow us do? No. But when it comes to actual threats of violence, especially against a child, and you find out about it, especially at this level, we have a moral obligation to condemn this. AOC should be on a plane to this girl. I don't know where this girl lives. Maybe she lives in her district. Who knows? She needs to be on a plane, standing next to this child, condemning these actions and putting a step forward in the right direction. So she so claims to believe in all the time. She's so concerned about humanitarian issues at the border and mistreatment of children for illegals crossing over. But here's an American citizen, an 8-year-old child, that's being threatened by her own supporters, and yet nothing.
I also think, and by the way, you're right. I wish AOC would say something, but I mean, granted, what is an apology from AOC going to be worth when you're dealing with somebody with the IQ of a potato? I would rather just not have any apology at all. That's one.
I'm trying to sneak in a water in the middle of it.
But two, parents do have to be aware in this day and age. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. I got an 8 and 10-year-old myself, but you have to be aware that politics, well, not just in this day and age, always, politics is a contact sport. It is now. It has always been a contact sport. If you're going to jump into it, parents, you be ready. And if you're going to bring your kids into it, it's a land of wolves out there now, and you better be ready to deal with that. And death threats are coming for you.
Well,
I've had a bunch. I'm sure you've had them.
And I will say, though, just to draw some sort of distinction here, there is a difference between putting your child in the limelight for the attention and being someone, you know, like any of us at this table. I know you, Graham. I've seen some of the things that people say to you and your wife about your children. You're not putting them in the videos,
well,
you know?
And again, it would be different if you had like a David Hogg situation where David Hogg, even as a minor, was put in CNN. He never was on Fox News and was talking about political things. He was very serious, very deliberate, very on point of what he wanted.
Either. He was a minor, but he was 16,
but what I'm saying is this is obviously parody. This is obviously comical. This is obviously an 8-year-old joke. So yes, I agree. Politics is ugly and it's dirty. However, this is a child with a comedy. It's comedy sketch. That's what it is. Comedy sketch.
They probably had no idea it was going to get to the level that it did
go
either,
after
right?
the parents. Don't go after the child.
In the parents' defense, a little bit, they might have thought, you know, this is fun. We'll put it out there. Didn't have any idea to the level it would get, and then of course, once that happens, then it is their obligation to say no more.
The first time they didn't have an idea. Well, after it took off the first time and they did it again and again, I will agree with you there. The parents should have known that this was going to come.
Absolutely. That's what I'm saying.
There's multiple faults here,
right?
But AOC is the one person that can truly at least with the platform she has the ability to get the word out in the right direction. And just like every other thing AOC does, something happens, she speaks about it, she disappears. Something has now happened in a negative aspect for her supporters, radio silence.
Well, it is interesting, too. You know, Jesse, you talk about politics being a contact sport. I seem to recall the media and everyone around the Obamas protecting their 2 daughters, and rightfully so, right? They said, keep them out of the conversation. They don't have, you know, they're kids. They shouldn't have anything to do with this. I didn't hear the same treatment with Barron. I haven't seen the same treatment with Barron.
Well, very much the opposite. I mean, let's be honest about it. We've had this conversation, you and I, several times before, of we look at politics, people on the right, as a political fight, an ideological fight. There are people on the left, people on the right, libertarian, conservative, all these other different things. The left does not view it that way, and that's where we run into a mistake, is we think that they view politics like we view politics. They view politics as good versus evil. They do not think that you are wrong. They don't think I'm wrong. They think you are evil, and once you've made somebody an evil, a Nazi in their eye, once you've made once I decide Graham is a Nazi, I can do whatever I want to Graham, and my conscience will allow me to do whatever I want to him.
It's your green light to do whatever you want to do. Yeah, label someone a Nazi. That's a good point.
Before we move on to that terrible, devious Mitch McConnell, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be back. Cannot believe the nerve of him. Say that word. Born people. Jesse, Mitch McConnell, I cannot believe he dared be born to people who have ancestors who own slaves. Did I get that right?
Dark day here in America.
Racist.
We found out the Senate Majority Leader, on my life, I'm not making this up, NBC News and, well, Meet the Press is with NBC News, but it wasn't just one part of NBC News. They ran with it. Meet the Press picked it up and ran with it. Washington Post. I have Felicia Sonmez, and I'll just read her headline real quick. It is, Senator Mitch McConnell's great-great-grandfathers owned 14 slaves, bringing reparations issue close to home. And as you'll see from this chart that I'm just now looking at for the first time on the screen, Senator Mitch McConnell, he's practically a slave owner himself. We almost had to get a 65-inch TV to fit the entire chart on there to make the connection between Mitch McConnell and his ancient relatives. We're efforting this now. I'm sorry I did not have time before the show. We're trying to find out if any of his ancestors took part in the crucifixion of Jesus, the sacking of Baghdad. We don't know whether he was involved in the Black Death in Europe, but we will get to the bottom of it, and we're going to get to the bottom of it quickly. We can't have a criminal like this as a Senate Majority Leader.
It's true. I don't know what we're going to do. The entire infrastructure of our company, of our government.
It's kind of like a company of
Everything's up in the air.
I feel like I should bring this to the table right now so it doesn't come out in the news. I am George Washington's 10th cousin, and I'm pretty sure that slaves were around when George Washington. I just getting it out there now. So I'm doing an Obama. I'm doing an Obama. Obama said he smoked crack or whatever before president. I'm doing an Obama. I'm just getting it all out.
It won't hurt you now. Oh, wait, you're a conservative, so
they can't. Nope, they can't. According to Democratic rules, if I say it now, they can't use it against me.
In all seriousness, how absurd is this? And by the way, it was done. I mean, they're not even trying to hide now that the media is the communication wing of the Democrat Party.
Right.
It was done in conjunction with the announcement of his Democrat opponent for Senate in Kentucky. She announced the same time they roll out this absurd thing that his ancestors used to own slaves. I mean, clearly they had coordinated this with the DNC and his opponent. I mean, and this, like I said, this is NBC News. This is not Vox. Or Slate or somebody, at least attempt to pretend to have some integrity.
Yeah. Connie, what's your thoughts on this?
I didn't know that his opponent announced the same day. I saw the news and just I couldn't believe it. I was just shocked. I sent it to my crew at the Texan.news, if I could give a shameless plug here quickly. This is exactly why we exist, why we launched, is because of this kind of garbage news. It's ridiculous. And I sent it to my staff and said, can you believe this? I mean, we're just all shocked. And I didn't know that it was all, with the opponent and all of that kind of thing. Just that alone, like, is this really news? Is this news?
Yeah. Graham, are you concerned at all with how much momentum this reparations movement is gaining? Because they are.
Mitch McConnell's over at this point. No, I'm just kidding.
But I mean, in Congress, they're discussing reparations.
I think that it's
seriously.
absolutely ridiculous. So yes, they're discussing reparations. Elizabeth Warren is talking about LGBT reparations. Now you've got Colin Kaepernick saying the Betsy Ross flag is offensive because it represents slavery, and apparently he's Nike's moral compass in some way. What we're doing now is, if you search hard enough, you'll find ties to a period in America where slavery existed, right? But at this point, why you can't wear clothes because slave owners had clothes. Why don't these millionaires? Why don't these millionaires that have all of these problems, politicians, everything, have all these problems with slavery and racist things? Give all your money back because they have faces of people that existed while slavery was there. So by very definition, you should not be able to have that. Just turn it all in, and we'll all start off at zero again, and we'll just do it your way. No, it's ridiculous. We're going down this thing that slavery, racism, true racism in America does not exist. Are there racist people in America? Of course there are, but that does not mean that America is racist. That is not what that's not what that proves. It's not real.
Well, and stories like that take the eye off the ball of when racist acts actually do happen, right?
Yes.
That doesn't get the attention, and it minimizes real racist acts that do and can happen every day. And so we're taking our eye off that ball, and we're talking about things that happened a long time ago, which are important, right? It's history. We need to all know about it, but it minimizes the continuing acts that might happen today. We're not hearing, it doesn't point the finger at those who are really being racist and trying to do something about that. Those are things that we cannot do anything about, but we did move forward from them, right?
Or at least I thought we did.
Yeah.
But here we are talking about reparations to an entire group of people who had no.
We need to be dealing with what's happening today.
Yeah.
We're still making strides. We have more white running backs in the NFL today than we have in years. I think we're doing.
Under their logic, Ted Bundy murdered at least 30 people from the late 70s to early 80s. Under that logic, now in 2019, every white guy named Ted is a serial murderer.
Or anyone related to him.
Or anyone that was ever related. God forbid his brother. I'm pretty sure he had a brother and a sister. Are they able to get jobs? How have they survived this entire time? Because obviously they're deviant serial murderers as well. That's how crazy it is.
It's true.
I mean, that people are like, that has nothing to do. Yes, it does.
You think it sounds, it's an exaggeration, but who'd have thought we would be where we are today? In other words, you're going down a road and people are, oh, that's so silly. But look where we are now.
The most powerful man in the world until November 8, 2016 was a black man.
But America only voted for them to cure their racist guilty conscience.
That's my point. Some of the most influential, richest, most known people in the world are black people.
I love when the football players talk about racism and oppression.
Don't get me on the owner thing.
I would love to be oppressed like you and make millions and millions of dollars. Can someone oppress me and pay me all of this money? Where do I sign up for that?
You want. If you pay me millions of dollars, I don't care.
Where do I sign up for that?
Yeah.
Jesse, I keep wondering too, with all of this reparations talk, so what if I have my ancestors who actually fought for blacks to have civil rights? Do I get like a credit in my bank account if my ancestors were were on the right side of history?
I thought your last name was Gonzalez. I figured you were with Santa Ana or whatever.
Does he ever make any sense?
No.
I'll tell you what we should do to solve it. What we should do to solve it is, fine, let's do reparations, okay? Every Democrat should have to pay reparations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Problem
Think about
solved.
it.
And
Think
problem
about it.
solved.
Think
Let's
about
be
it.
honest about where we are with this issue politically here. The Democrats have completely wiped out the white working class as far as a voting bloc that will ever vote for them. They're not even pandering to them now. What they have to have is what Barack Obama gave them. They have to have 97, 98% of black people in the country to vote for them, or they cannot win national elections. It's not humanly possible. The numbers simply are not there. It's part of the reason they want to flood the country with illegals, but that's another matter. So this is just a pander to try to get back a voting bloc that Trump is currently eating their lunch on. Now, granted, Trump's only going to get 10%, 15% maybe.
I think
but
he'll do a little
means
better
death
than that
for,
this
well,
time.
he could, but that means death for the Democratic Party nationally. If
Right.
Trump gets 10% of the black vote, election's already over, mail it in. And so now they do this pandering stuff, which black people don't even want. Polls show it doesn't even pull at 50% in the black community. They roll their eyes at that. They're like, that's stupid.
Well, and
They find it offensive. They find it offensive.
Yeah.
Black people are proud Americans.
Yes.
And they do. They find it offensive. You're saying, I can't. No, I have a job.
Right.
I work. I take care of my family. I pay my bills. They have the pride in being an adult and handling your own business. And so they don't want it. They don't want that victimhood mentality, pity charity that they're talking about.
Well, and to your point, when you look at the Democratic Party and their history, it's like they fought for slavery. They voted against, emancipation. They founded the KKK. They established Jim Crow laws.
Great track record.
Right. They voted against the Civil Rights Act. These are really the people that you want buying your votes. What could possibly go wrong when these are the people who are buying your votes? No idea. All right, back in a minute.
Ridiculous. Yeah, it is.
Connie, we've got only a couple minutes, and I want to make sure that we have enough time to get into your story. I'm familiar with it, and it's a big one. You guys need to tune in and listen to what's going on here in Texas, of all places. But I want to talk to you about your website,
Yes.
The Texan.
The Texan.news.
And
So
go ahead.
Yeah, I'm sorry. We just launched it a couple of months ago, actually. We had an election, I don't know if y'all know, back in 2018, and it didn't go the way that many of us expected. And I've always wanted to be in the fight one way or the other. Before that, I was an activist. I was a state senator. Beto wave took a bunch of us out.
Yes.
And so,
Shockingly.
My husband actually has been very concerned about the media, as we all have. But what I mean by that is, he's wanted to do something about it for a very long time. He has his own job and, doesn't have the time to do it. And, after the election, we sat down and said, you know what, now's the time to do this. And it's a right of center media organization. It's online only, multimedia. And what I mean by right of center, it is straight news. It's factual, straight news, but it's right of center. And by that, what I mean is when we report about the border, for instance, we talk about rule of law issues, the fact that we have a system, immigration system. We don't just talk about it from the plight of those who are coming over, which is a concern, which we all want to know about. But we also, are concerned for the safety and security of Texans. And if you're concerned about the safety and security of Texans, that doesn't mean that you're racist, right? So we have a different viewpoint from the stories that we put forth. When we talk about pro-life, we don't use the term, what is the term that the left uses now, Democrats use for abortion? It's health care,
Oh, yes, reproductive health care.
Reproductive health care, right?
Yeah.
We don't use terminology like that. That is basically offensive.
Yeah.
Right.
So thetexan.news, you can go there, get your news. Graham, you just had a new podcast drop, didn't you? All right, you guys find that wherever you find your podcast, subscribe, give it a good rating. We will see you guys in overtime.